Hello, listeners of the latest episode. Welcome to the new chapter of our story.
Jennifer Santos spent 18 hours analyzing the data extracted from Rachel's neural transmitter. 18 hours without sleep, surviving on coffee and grief, processing everything Rachel had seen during 12 days connected to Webb's Hunter network. When she finally called the leadership meeting, her voice was hollow. It's everything. Rachel saw Webb's entire operation, every facility, every person, every phase of Project Lazarus, from inception to endgame. John, Chen, Michael, and Morrison gathered in the command center. Around them, the community was processing Rachel's death. The second time they'd mourned her, and this time there would be no resurrection. Jennifer displayed the data on salvaged screens. A map illuminated with 23 locations across 6 states. 23 facilities, Jennifer said, each one documented with coordinates, garrison strength, operational focus, and strategic value. Rachel saw them all through the neural network. Webb's people communicate constantly. She absorbed 4 months of intelligence in 12 days. John studied the map. Fort Carson glowing red. 147 personnel, primary command and control. Cheyenne Mountain in orange. 89 personnel, research and development. Peterson Air Force Base in yellow. 56 personnel, communications and logistics. And 19 other facilities he'd never known existed. Hidden in abandoned military bases, repurposed government bunkers, isolated research stations, supply depots, training facilities, medical labs, hunter conditioning centers, each one a node in Webb's conspiracy. Total personnel count, Chen asked. 2,847 people working for Project Lazarus, Jennifer said. Military, civilian contractors, scientists, administrators. Webb has built an entire organization while we've been focused on survival. How is that possible? Michael demanded. We destroyed the network. We burned Denver General. We've been hitting his operations for months. Where did all these people come from? They were already there, Morrison said, reading the personnel files. Project Lazarus didn't start with the outbreak. It started before. Look at the recruitment dates. Colonel Sarah Mitchell began assembling the program 2 years before Patient Zero emerged. He pulled up a profile. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, U.S. Northcom, age 47, 23 years of service. Deputy commander of NORAD before her official disappearance during the outbreak's first weeks. Mitchell was running this before the infection existed. Morrison continued. She knew it was coming, or she made it happen. Rachel's data doesn't clarify which, but it shows Mitchell has been directing Project Lazarus since before civilization collapsed. Where is she now? John asked. Cheyenne Mountain, Jennifer said. Webb reports to her directly. She's insulated from field operations, protected by 89 personnel, and the most fortified facility in their network. Chen pulled up additional files. Phase 2. Rachel saw the timeline. Project Lazarus Phase 2 begins in 4 months. Look at the objectives. John read the clinical language describing Webb's endgame. Phase 2. Objectives. Population reduction to sustainable levels. Target, 90% mortality achieved. Establishment of controlled zones. Secure territories with infrastructure. Administration of modified infection to compliant populations. Voluntary initially, mandatory if resistance. Creation of conditioned workforce. Cognitive retention 40 to 60%. Sufficient for labor but insufficient for rebellion. Elimination of non-compliant populations. Resistance elements. Ideological threats. Redundant survivors. They're planning to infect everyone who's left, Michael said. Turn survivors into controlled workers. People who remember enough to perform tasks, but not enough to rebel. Hunter protocols refined for civilian application, Morrison added. Instead of creating combat units, they create laborers, farmers who don't question orders, factory workers who don't organize unions, soldiers who don't refuse commands. An entire civilization of partially transformed humans, serving whoever controls the infection. That's not civilization, John said. That's slavery with neurological engineering. That's what Rachel died to expose, Jennifer said quietly. She saw Phase 2 in the network communications, knew we needed this intelligence, chose data extraction over survival, because this information is worth more than any individual life. John thought about Rachel's last words. Let me be brave one more time. Let me matter. She'd mattered. This intelligence was the key to destroying everything Webb and Mitchell had built. We have 4 months before Phase 2 begins, John said. 4 months to dismantle this network. How do we do it? Chen studied the facility map. We can't hit 23 installations with 63 survivors. We don't have the forces. Even if we recruited every resistance cell in Colorado, we'd be outnumbered 40-1. Then we don't hit all 23, John said. We hit the facilities that support the others, supply depots, communications relays, training centers. We destroy Webb's logistics and force him to consolidate, make him choose which facilities to defend and which to abandon. Michael nodded slowly. Strategic attrition. Make him spread his forces thin, defending everything. Then strike what he's weakened. Exactly, John said. We identify 5 priority targets. Not the biggest installations, but the ones that support Webb's operational capacity. We hit them sequentially over 2 weeks. Fast strikes, maximum damage, immediate extraction. Jennifer highlighted 5 facilities on the map. Target Alpha, Supply Depot, outside Colorado Springs. Logistics Hub, supporting 6 facilities. Garrison, 23 personnel. Current inventory includes ammunition, medical supplies, equipment for 400-plus personnel. The target Bravo, communications relay in Wyoming. Satellite uplink connecting Webb's network across 3 states. Garrison, 15 personnel. Destruction would isolate northern facilities from command. Target Charlie, research outpost in New Mexico, developing next-generation Hunter protocols and Phase 2 infection variants. Garrison, 31 personnel, intelligence value high, threat value extreme. Target Delta, training facility in Kansas, where Webb conditions new personnel and programs Hunters. Garrison, 28 personnel. Eliminating this disrupts recruitment and Hunter production. Target Echo, medical station in Nebraska, produces modified infection in deployable form for Phase 2. Garrison, 19 personnel. Destroying this delays Phase 2 timeline significantly. 5 facilities, John said. 116 personnel total, spread across 4 states. We hit them over 10 days. Each success forces Webb to reinforce the remaining targets. By Target Echo, he'll be desperately defending facilities we're not even planning to assault. And while his forces are dispersed, Chen added, we gather intelligence on Fort Carson and Cheyenne Mountain, find the weaknesses, plan the strikes that actually matter. It was ambitious. Required coordination the Resistance hadn't attempted since the Triple Strike disaster, but Rachel's intelligence made it possible. Her sacrifice gave them the roadmap. We vote, John said. Offensive operations against 5 targets over 10 days. Community relocates to backup site for security. 20 fighters per assault team. Who's in favor? 47 hands went up. 16 remained down, enough to proceed. Target Alpha Assault launches in 72 hours, John announced. Michael, you're leading the strike team. Chen, coordinate logistics and relocation. Jennifer, continue analyzing Rachel's data for tactical advantages. Morrison, focus on the captured hunters. We need to know if they can be saved. The meeting ended. People dispersed to prepare for the largest coordinated campaign the Resistance had ever attempted. John stayed behind, looking at the map. 23 facilities, 2,847 enemies, 4 months until Phase 2. Rachel had given them the tools for victory. Now they had to be willing to use them. The captured hunters were sedated in the medical compound. 7 people the Resistance had known, transformed into weapons, now unconscious and restrained, while Morrison attempted what might be impossible. Hunter 6, Marcus Webb, Jr., age 22, day 12. Transformation 40% cognitive retention. Hunter 9, Jennifer Park, age 27, day 11. Transformation 55% cognitive retention. Hunter 3, Thomas Park, age 31, day 14. Transformation 38% cognitive retention. Hunter 5, unknown identity, estimated day 10. Transformation cognitive retention unknown. Hunter 7, unknown identity, estimated day 13. Transformation cognitive retention unknown. Hunter 10, unknown identity, estimated day 9. Transformation cognitive retention unknown. Hunter 11, unknown identity, estimated day 12. Transformation cognitive retention unknown. Sarah Anderson was day 4. Morrison explained to the community assembly gathered to decide their fates. Her transformation was early enough that neural pathways were damaged but not completely rewritten. Reversal took 72 hours but succeeded completely. She's human again, fully restored. Sarah stood beside Morrison, living proof that hunters could be saved, but also living proof of how rare that salvation was. These 7 hunters range from day 9 to day 14. Morrison continued. The longer someone is transformed, the deeper Webb's conditioning goes. Neural restructuring becomes more complex. Reversal becomes exponentially more difficult. He displayed medical data. I estimate 30% success rate for Marcus, 50% for Jennifer, 20% for Thomas. The 4 unknown hunters have no medical history, no baseline for comparison. I'd be guessing about their chances. So we're looking at maybe 3 saves out of 7. Someone called out. Maybe. And the other 4 die anyway, but in agony during failed treatment. That's possible, Morrison admitted. Reversal is traumatic. The body fights itself as modified infection is broken down. Some subjects won't survive the process. Others will survive but remain too damaged to be considered saved. Then we're torturing them, another voice said, putting them through hell for a 1 in 3 chance. Wouldn't it be more merciful to just end their suffering quickly? Sarah went through that hell, Morrison said. She survived. She's human again. Don't we owe these 7 the same chance? The debate raged for 2 hours. Arguments about mercy versus hope, about resource allocation. Morrison would need to focus entirely on reversal attempts, pulling him away from other medical duties. About risk. What if a hunter woke during treatment and attacked, as modified infected sometimes did when threatened? But mostly about the impossible question, when was someone too far gone to save? Finally, they voted, each hunter individually, the community deciding their fate. Marcus Webb, Jr., 38 votes for attempted reversal, 25 votes for euthanasia. Jennifer Park, 51 votes for attempted reversal, 12 votes for euthanasia. Thomas Park, 19 votes for attempted reversal, 44 votes for euthanasia. Unknown hunters, collectively. 8 votes for attempted reversal, 55 votes for euthanasia. We try to save Marcus and Jennifer, John announced. We give them every chance Morrison can provide. But Thomas and the 3 unknown hunters, we end their suffering humanely. No pain, no fear, just peace. It was the hardest decision the community had made, choosing who lived and who died based on percentages and estimated cognitive retention and vote counts, choosing to give up on 4 people because the math said they probably couldn't be saved. Morrison prepared 2 sets of compounds, reversal drugs for Marcus and Jennifer, euthanasia for the others. The community gathered to say goodbye to people they'd already mourned once. Thomas Park, captured in the triple strike, transformed into Hunter 3, voted too far, gone to save. 3 unknown hunters with no names, no memories, no human identities left to preserve. Morrison administered the compounds while they were sedated. They never woke, never felt pain, never knew they'd been deemed unsavable. 4 more casualties, 4 more people Webb had stolen, 4 more reasons to destroy Project Lazarus completely. Sarah Anderson watched the euthanasia with tears running down her face. She'd been day 4. If the community had found her at day 14 instead, she would have been in one of those body bags. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the bodies being carried away. "I'm so sorry." Marcus Webb Jr. woke up during reversal treatment. Morrison had been working for 6 hours, introducing compounds designed to break down the modified infection's control over Marcus's neural pathways. Progress was measurable, cognitive function improving, Webb's conditioning weakening. Then Marcus opened his eyes, and they were hunter eyes, predatory, cold, programmed. "Sedate him," Morrison shouted, reaching for the syringe. Marcus was already moving. Enhanced strength snapped the restraints designed to hold 3 times normal human force. Enhanced speed carried him toward Morrison before anyone could react. John shot him. 3 rounds, center mass. Marcus collapsed. "Is he dead?" Chen asked, weapons still raised. Morrison checked vitals, his hands shaking. "No, the enhanced physiology is keeping him alive despite massive trauma. He's unconscious but stable. We can restrain him and continue treatment. Or we end it," Michael said quietly. "He attacked, proved the conditioning is too strong. We gave him a chance. He failed." "He was 6 hours into a 72-hour protocol," Morrison argued. "Of course his conditioning was still active. We haven't had time to break it yet. Waking up was a complication, not a failure." "How many more times does he wake up and attack before you admit he can't be saved?" Michael countered. "How many people does he kill while you're trying to reverse something that might be irreversible?" John looked at Marcus's unconscious body, at the 3 bullet wounds that would have killed a normal human, at the hunter lying in a pool of his own. Blood who'd once been a resistance fighter. 48 more hours, John said. "If Morrison can't show significant progress by then, we make the hard choice. But we give him the 48 hours. We owe Marcus that much." Morrison stabilized Marcus, sedated him more heavily, reinforced the restraints, continued the reversal treatment while guards maintained constant watch. Jennifer Park's reversal was going better. She remained unconscious, but her neural patterns were improving, cognitive function returning, Webb's conditioning breaking down without the violent resistance Marcus showed. Jennifer's cognitive retention was higher, Morrison explained. 55% versus Marcus's 40%. The conditioning has less to work with. There's more of her original personality to rebuild from. "How long until you know if she'll make it?" John asked. Another 36 hours minimum, but she's responding well. I think she can be saved. 1 out of 7. Maybe 2 if Marcus survived the next 48 hours. It wasn't much, but it was better than 0. The community relocated while Morrison worked. Abandoned the base they'd built, the place where they'd fought Hunter 12, where Rachel had died for the 2nd time. Moved to a backup site Chen's people had scouted, an abandoned shopping complex with good sight lines, defensible positions, and no Hunter attack history. It felt like retreat, like losing ground to Webb. But it was tactical necessity. Rachel's intelligence included Hunter deployment patterns. Webb knew approximately where they'd been operating. Staying meant waiting to be found. Moving meant controlling the engagement. "This is temporary," John told the community as they packed. "We relocate, we hit Webb's network, and we come back when it's safe. But right now, staying here means dying here." They moved at night. 63 people, all their equipment, everything they couldn't afford to lose. Left behind anything that might slow them down. Abandoned the graves on the hill. Rachel's marker, and the 17 from the triple strike, and the 4 hunters they'd been unable to save. "We'll come back," John said, looking at Rachel's marker one last time. "We'll come back when this is over. When Phase 2 is stopped. When Webb and Mitchell are dead. We'll come back, and we'll remember everyone we lost here." But he didn't know if that was true. Didn't know if any of them would survive long enough to return. Target Alpha assault launched at 0200 hours, 72 hours after the decision to go offensive. 20 fighters moving on the supply depot outside Colorado Springs. Michael leading the strike team. John coordinating from the relocated base, monitoring radio frequencies and tactical data. Jennifer Santos had spent 3 days analyzing the facility from Rachel's intelligence. Guard rotations, defensive positions, supply storage locations. Everything Rachel had seen through the neural network. "Perimeter is undermanned," Jennifer briefed. "Webb's been pulling forces to reinforce higher priority facilities since we destroyed the mountain bunker. Target Alpha has only 23 personnel instead of the original 40. Expect resistance anyway," John cautioned. "They're trained. They know we're coming eventually. Don't underestimate them." Michael's team approached through the ruins. Used darkness and knowledge of patrol patterns to bypass external security. Reached the depot perimeter without detection. "Alpha team in position," Michael transmitted. "Beginning assault in 30 seconds. The attack was swift and brutal, breaching charges on 3 entry points simultaneously. Strike teams pouring through, engaging Webb's personnel before they could organize a defense. The fighting lasted 11 minutes. 23 Webb personnel killed or captured. Massive stores of ammunition, medical supplies, and equipment destroyed. Target Alpha completely eliminated as a logistics hub. 0 friendly casualties, Michael reported. Facility is destroyed. Extracting now. The team withdrew before reinforcements could arrive. Disappeared into the ruins before Webb's response forces reached the site. First successful operation since the mountain bunker. First step in the systematic campaign to destroy Webb's network. John updated the facility map. 23 facilities reduced to 22. 2,847 personnel reduced to 2,824. Target Bravo launches in 48 hours, John transmitted to Michael's team. The communications relay in Wyoming. Webb will be reinforcing it after what we did tonight. We hit it anyway. Show him we can strike anywhere. Webb's response came within 6 hours. Radio intercepts showed emergency communications across his network, forces being repositioned, facilities being reinforced, exactly as John had predicted. "He's spreading himself thin," Chen observed, "trying to defend everything simultaneously. Classic mistake when facing an agile opponent." "He doesn't have a choice," John said. "He doesn't know which facilities we'll hit next, doesn't know our priorities. Rachel's intelligence gives us perfect information while he's operating blind." It was the advantage Rachel had died to give them. Perfect knowledge of Webb's network while Webb could only guess about theirs. Over the next 48 hours, the Resistance prepared for Target Bravo. Morrison reported that Jennifer Park was showing significant improvement. Cognitive function nearly restored, Webb's conditioning almost completely broken. Marcus was stable, but still heavily sedated after his attack. The 48-hour deadline was approaching. "I need more time with Marcus," Morrison said. "Another 72 hours. I think I can save him if—" "You said 48 hours," Michael interrupted. "He attacked you, shot 3 times, and survived because of hunter physiology. How many more chances does he get?" "As many as it takes," Morrison said. "We don't give up on people just because saving them is difficult. We give up on people when saving them endangers everyone else," Michael countered. "Marcus waking up and attacking isn't just a setback. It's proof the conditioning is stronger than the treatment." The debate continued while the community prepared for Target Bravo, while Webb repositioned forces across his network, while Phase 2 drew 4 months closer. John made the decision. Marcus gets 72 more hours. If he can't be stabilized by then, if Morrison can't break the conditioning, we end it humanely, but we give him the time. Michael disagreed, but accepted the decision. The Resistance wasn't a democracy when it came to tactical calls. John commanded. Others followed or didn't. Target Bravo assault launched 48 hours after Target Alpha. The communications relay in Wyoming, now reinforced with additional personnel, Webb had rushed north after the supply depot destruction. This time, the fighting was harder. Webb's people were prepared. The assault lasted 37 minutes. The facility was destroyed. The communications relay that connected Webb's network across 3 states was reduced to rubble, but the cost was higher. 3 Resistance fighters killed, 7 wounded. The first casualties since the mountain bunker operation. "Target eliminated," Michael reported, his voice tight. "But we paid for it. Webb's learning, adapting. The next target will be even harder." John updated the map. 22 facilities reduced to 21. 2,824 personnel reduced to 2,797. But 3 more graves to dig when they got back to base. The systematic destruction of Project Lazarus was working, but the price was escalating. Jennifer Park woke up on day 5 of reversal treatment. Her eyes were human eyes, clear, aware, confused but conscious. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice hoarse from days of sedation. "You're safe," Morrison said. "You're home. You're human again." Jennifer looked at her hands, felt her face, tested her memories. "I was a hunter, Hunter 9. I remember being transformed, being programmed. But it's like remembering a dream, like it happened to someone else." "It happened to you," Morrison said, "but we brought you back, reversed the transformation. You're Jennifer Park again, just Jennifer." She cried, not from pain or fear, but from relief, from understanding that she'd been lost and then found, that some part of her had survived Webb's conditioning and fought its way back to the surface, 1 saved out of 7. Maybe 2 if Marcus survived his extended treatment. It was something. Not much, but something. The war continued. Target Charlie scheduled for 4 days from now. Target Delta 6 days. Target Echo 8 days. Each one bringing the resistance closer to crippling Webb's operational capacity. Each one costing lives. Rachel's gift was the roadmap to victory. But the journey was going to kill people. Already had. More would follow. John stood in the command center, studying the map of 19 remaining facilities. Thought about Rachel, about her choice to extract data instead of clinging to life, about her understanding that intelligence was worth more than survival. "We're going to win," John said quietly to the empty room. "We're going to use what you gave us to destroy everything Webb built. We're going to stop Phase 2. We're going to make sure your sacrifice meant something." He didn't know if Rachel could hear him, didn't know if consciousness persisted after death, or if she was simply gone. But he said it anyway, because some promises needed to be spoken aloud, even if no one was listening. The Resistance had a roadmap, had a mission, had 4 months to dismantle a conspiracy 2 years in the making, and they had Rachel's gift, the intelligence she'd died to give them, the knowledge that made victory possible. It would be enough. It had to be enough, because there was no alternative except watching Webb and Mitchell transform every survivor into a controlled resource, watching humanity become something less than human, watching civilization die, not with a bang, but with systematic neurological conditioning. Rachel had seen that future, had chosen to die preventing it. John would honor that choice, whatever it cost, however many lives it took. The war against Project Lazarus had entered its final phase. And this time, the Resistance wasn't just surviving, they were destroying.